is a photo of a rooster from Pixabay, and I used to paint a lot of chicken and rooster paintings. Some of my very first ones were of this subject, and it's a great subject for ink because with the fancy fowl you've got lots of feathers, lots of shimmeriness, and it's really just a great alcohol ink subject. So what I've done for this piece is to draw out our rooster, and I'm going to mask, and I will mask probably the outlines, maybe some of these areas, just so I can just note the flow of the feathers, and there's some highlights in here. Plus I'll probably mask the face just so that I don't lose it under the ink. We'll let that dry. Now that the masking fluid is dry, it's time to put on the background. And I'm going to just do an all over inky pattern, and I'm picking some colors that are somewhat in the picture. So I've got some eggplant, stream, honeycomb, and coolberry. And I think I'm just going to just drop them around. I'll try to concentrate some of the darker ones in this area of the body, but I'd like to have some of the dark kind of, around so that we have more of a unity through the piece. So this is the eggplant. And the stream. And the honeycomb, we want a fair amount of, get it going. And the coolberry. I'm just going to rotate it around, get some movement. And these are all really thick, so we have to do something to get it to cover all the areas. So this is the cotton swab. I'll just add a couple more drops of honeycomb to break it up a little bit. And maybe some coolberry, if I can. And I'll let this dry laying down. So we have our rooster background and it's dry. I'm going to pull off the masking fluid. So now that the masking fluid is off, the first thing I'm going to do is use the cotton swab and alcohol and just clean up any of the extra ink that's in here. It's under the red, so it won't be a problem, but at least in the eye, I like to have that clean. First thing I'm going to do is draw in the eye. This is the Micron pen. And the beak. I'm going to use the brush and just brush in some of the red or pink for the comb. And this is flamingo. It'll be on the lighter side. Well, it looks like it wants to get away from me. And really any of the reds will be fine. I'm going to come back in with the darker red. Or a marker if you prefer. Some of the feathers can actually come up in this area, so we'll be coming back over them. We have some areas of lighter feathers through here and through here. And I'm going to use the cotton swab and alcohol and just lift out those we'll be putting more ink back in. But some of this is conveniently the right color, and others of it are conveniently not the right color. I'm also just gonna pull this ink over the masked area while I'm over here. I'll move over and do the same thing on this side. And I'll just continue around, kind of pulling the ink over the masking. We'll be adding a lot more ink, but just start the tone back process. Next, I'm going to use the eggplant again and add some of the darker values into the feathers. So this is one reason I like to use the colors often that are in the subject, in the background, so that we get a nice unity. We see those colors kind of peeking through. It's going to take a while to build up that dark value, but we can get started. Got to start somewhere. And we'll do the same with the stream. This used to be one of my absolute favorite colors. And I kind of stopped using it, but it's a really pretty color. And this is the honeycomb. Many of these feathers look a bit more rust colored, but go back in afterwards. I'm going to add some of the even darker colors with this dark marker. I think that will speed the process and will ultimately blend in just fine with our eggplant. So this is a dark gray. I'm going to blend it in with the brush and the eggplant ink. And we'll start just making some smaller textures. These are just kind of like tiny dots, as though they could be just some very tight feathers. I'm going to use the brush and alcohol and just do some blending and lifting, kind of working on the feathers textures. And making sure not to have too much alcohol on the brush, or at least trying not to. This might be easier with the cotton swab. Let me check it out and see. And this is kind of a pleasant meditative task, just kind of lifting out the feathers, making feather texture. Sometimes ink painting isn't always fun. This part's pretty fun. You have some nice sheen on the feathers in this area. I'm going to lift out the area that the kind of rust colored feathers are in. turn through here, which are angles. This is kind of a tan marker. Let's see if this gives us some of that color. I'll continue around with this and add some darker feathers into the honeycomb that we have here. This is a darker red marker. I'll use it for some of the darker areas of the comb here. So I'm going to splatter it. We are getting close, but not too close. So this is alcohol in the 1-inch chip brush. I think getting the area near the feet is a good idea because it's kind of indistinct in the picture. I think that's good. For the feet, I'm going to use the Culperi. I think that was another color we had put in the background. And I don't think we have to spend a lot of time worrying about these. So at this stage, we're going to work our way back around, kind of just adding detail, refining things. This is honeycomb in the brush. And switch over to the pointy swab and some alcohol. At this stage, I'm going to introduce a new color. This is kind of a turquoise blue. I think that might just add a little more fun to some of these parts. And I'm just kind of dabbing it in. It actually is really close to the stream, but a little more blue, I think. This is the cotton swab in alcohol. I'm going to add some texture up to the comb. And I need to lighten this a little bit. And I'll go back in with the black pen. And this is kind of an even darker red one. And I'll blend this in. And while there really isn't anything this bright red on the picture, I think it would be fun to add a little bit of red. So this is the poppy field. And we'll blend it just a little bit. And now I'd like to have a little bit more fun. I took a picture though in case it doesn't come out. This is a toothbrush that I think had wild plum on it. This is a poppy field. I'm gonna do a little splattering with it. And this is a toothbrush that had the brass on it before, or gold, and we'll do some of that now. I'm not sure about this giant spot. I'm not sure I know what to do about it though. But that's a good thing. Let's see if I can just pull it off. No, we have made it worse. I'm going to just use the pulling that off, and we just need to do a little adjustment back here. This was the darker of the blues. This was the darker of the browns. This is a Q-tip with alcohol. And we'll try just a little more. Come over it. That should blend it in. I think I'd also like just a little alcohol. So that was very fun. I think I will just finish up by maybe pulling off a little bit, adding some highlights in. I think there was a highlight on this feather. And just do a tiny bit more blending in this comb. This is a light red. And the cotton swab. Well, as happens a lot, I thought I was finished, but I noticed that I don't have any ink in some of these spaces. And as I went downstairs to take a picture of it and to crop it, I was like, ooh, I need to fill those in. So I'm going to do that right now. So I think one of the easiest ways for me to do that is to just kind of dab some ink in these spaces. This is the honeycomb, so it should sort of match. And the nice thing about honeycomb is it's not really going anywhere. So let me blend it a little bit. And then this is a paper towel. And this is ginger. Need to be careful not to have it pop over into my rooster. I got the same issue here. This time I got enough ink on the paper towel. I'm just going to pounce it through. To blend this a little bit, I want to splatter it with alcohol, but I don't want at this point to get near the face. So kind of covered the face up a little bit. Well, in doing this, as with any repair, I've now made a mess of something else. I'm going to pop in some more of the blue and the darker color. And this is a cotton swab in alcohol. It's going to purposely make some texture. And I think I should carry it across into this green area. Well, this appears to be one of those paintings where I thought it was done, but I wasn't. After I took a picture of it, there are a couple things that kind of bugged me. One is I think I need more texture here. And I had really thought that I had some finer lines in these areas, and I don't. So I want to add some of those in. I'm going to start right here. For my finer lines, I'm going to use a very light marker. And just kind of run through these thicker areas. And I think this pen might be too juicy for what I want. It seems to be making thicker lines than I had hoped for. So I'm going to try a different one. I'm really looking just for something that will lift a thin line more than the color that it's putting on. And this is kind of a lighter turquoise. We'll see if I can get some finer lines this way too. I'm going to actually go with something a little bit lighter still. And just a little more lifting here. This is alcohol. I think there's some kind of darker ink on here. I'm going to use it just to kind of tone back some of the leg. And I'm going to try a red kind of around the eye. And a little bit of softening here. Softening there. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to increase the size of the pupil or the highlight. Just a few last highlights. Accidentally made this brown instead of pink. Well, we shall fix that. All right, good as new.